clicking and dragging them. And that's it. Everything is set up, which means from now on, going live to all your platforms is as easy as opening OBS and clicking Start Streaming. Once you do that, we'll begin sending your stream to all of your connected platforms. Ready to learn more? Check out the videos on screen now, or if you have any questions or suggestions for future tutorials, leave them in the comments below.
Yes, I'm beginning to try to it has to be dark. It can't be too bright.
Hello guys, my name is Warnie. Welcome to another tutorial coming back at you again. This is actually going to be a follow-up tutorial on my perfect green screen version 1, which I did later last year. This is actually going to be a version 2, which I think is a more accurate and better. I'm going to right click it, I'm going to hit rename. As you can see, I've got it all set to default, so you can follow along on how to get it as near perfect as a green screen as you can. Right, okay, so let's go ahead and waste no time. Open up OBS. I've got mine pinned to my taskbar down here. As you can see, I've got it all set to default, so you can follow along with me step by step, making this as simple as possible. So let's go ahead and rename this scene, scene 1. I'm going to right click it, I'm going to hit rename. I want to name this camera source. Fantastic. Right, now we've got a camera source over here. We're going to need to add a source, which is our webcam, DSLR camera you are going to use, etc, etc. So let's go down and hit the plus button down in sources, video capture device. And then I'm going to rename this Sony A5100 because that's the camera I will be using. It should pick it up. Boom! There we go. Picked up our camera. So I'm going to leave everything as default for now. Click OK. You might have a webcam or something like that. It isn't going to be the same as this. So I'm going to mute this audio down here because I'm not using my Sony. It's got a built-in camera microphone, sorry, so I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to be just using my mixer that I use. So I'm going to just mute that, hide this so I don't have to see it. That might be a step you guys need to do with your webcam. If you're not going to use the audio from it, I suggest you don't use the audio from the webcam because it's likely not going to be great. But anyway, we've got our camera set up in here. What are we missing? We're missing a green screen, right? So we're going to go ahead and grab a green screen. Now, some of you may not have an Elgato green screen like I have behind me, but even a painted wall will do this colour green. A material that's ironed well will do. So we're going to go ahead and grab a green screen. Now, some of you may not have an Elgato green screen like I have behind me, but even a painted wall will do this. To see it. That might be a step you guys need to do with your webcam. If you're not going to use the audio from it, I suggest you don't use the audio from the webcam because it's likely not going to be great. But anyway, we've got our camera set up in here. What are we missing? We're missing a green screen, right? So we're going to go ahead and grab a green screen. Now, some of you may not have an Elgato green screen like I have behind me, but even a painted wall will do this colour green. A material that's ironed well will do. It doesn't have to be an expensive green screen at all, really. So now we've got our green screen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop in the corners. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and grab this corner here by just clicking. If you can't see this box, just make sure you click on the Sony A5100 here. Click on this corner here, hold down Alt, you'll see it turn green, and that means you're cropping the image rather than, you know, resizing. So I'm going to do it with this edge here, and what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out anything that's not green. So I've got my edges here, I'm going to just click off, make sure I've got everything cool. So we're going to need to remove this green screen using a chroma key. So what we're going to do is going to click our Sony A5100 or a camera source down here. Right click, filters. Then we've got our effect filters here. We're going to click the plus button and we're going to go to chroma key. Leave it as it is. Filter name is fine. And as you can see, it's done a good job. I'm happy with it, but as you can see, this corner down here still not perfect. So I've got the two.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What? I don't know. It's too long. Okay. Okay.
A camera source down here. Right click, filters. Then we've got our effect filters here. We're going to click.
Okay.
Click the plus button, and we're going to go to chroma key. Leave it as it is. Filter name is fine, and as you can see, it's done a good job. I'm happy with it, but as you can see, this corner down here still not perfect. So I've got the two windows side by side, and this is the little trick I'm going to show you that's going to really nail your green screen, whether it be a different shade of green, not really like perfectly green. This should negate that problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and click the eye icon on the chroma key and just hide it for now, so we still got our green, and I'm going to show you why now. So key color type green. Instead of green, we're going to go down and we're going to go to custom. So now we've got key color here, which is an automatic green color that it suggests, and while it's good, it's not perfect. So we're going to click select color over here, and now we're going to click pick screen color, and what that does is now you can now go ahead and pick anything on your screen that is the color. So the reason why I turned this chroma key off earlier here is so we can actually pick this green color. So let's go ahead and pick the green color. So click, boom, like that, and that locks in now. And let's click OK. Right, so let's go ahead and put this back on now. We're going to disappear completely, but don't worry, I'll get us back. Boom. So it disappeared completely. What that is the similarity slider needs to be pulled down. See, now the similarity slider, that's a really hard word to say, doesn't need to be as high anymore because you actually physically picked the green while using. So now you can really hone in this green, this particular green you have, because it might not be the same shade as mine or anybody else. Color over here, plus button, and we're going to go to chroma key. Leave it as it is. Filter name is fine, and as you can see, it's done a good job. I'm happy with it, but as you can see, this corner down here still not perfect. So I've got the two windows side by side, and this is the little trick I'm going to show you that's going to really nail your green screen, whether it be a different shade of green, not really like perfectly green. This should negate that problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and click the eye icon on the chroma key and just hide it for now, so we still got our green, and I'm going to show you why now. So key color type green. Instead of green, we're going to go down and we're going to go to custom. So now we've got key color here, which is an automatic green color that it suggests, and while it's good, it's not perfect. So we're going to click select color over here, and now we're going to click pick screen color, and what that does, this green, this try and get we can actually name it home for the sake of it. Click home. Right, and I'm just move my scene up here so it's just above. That's just me being a bit anal. So I'm going to go to home scene here, and first of all, we're going to add an image. So I'm going to name this background. Again, you can have any background you want. I've made my own here, which is a Vorny purple background. 1920 by 1080. So now we've got a background. We're going to add a scene over that now. So let's go to plus, add a scene, and we're going to add our camera source scene, which we just worked on earlier. Boom. So the reason why I added this as a scene and not a source is because this camera source scene here is just a hidden scene that I'm going to put within other scenes that acts as my camera manager as such. So for example, if I click my camera source here and then go over the sources, my Sony a5100, maybe you want to swap out for another camera, which I do regularly for different shots and things like that. You can just switch it right here in the devices, switch it to another camera that you may want to use, and then whatever scene you have put this camera source scene within, because you might have put it in multiple, it affects all of those now without having to go through and change all your other scenes. It's kind of complicated to get your head around, but I think it helps you manage your scenes better if you have a multi-camera setup, especially if you have a lot of scenes. Right, back in our home screen here, as you can see, I've added my scene within my home scene, my scene being my camera source scene. And I could just put that anywhere I want now. So there you have it, guys. That's my near perfect green screen version 2 video. I hope this helped you, and if you like the video, please like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitch, follow me on all my social medias. It's at Vorny everything, VOORMY, and I will see you in the next tutorial video. Peace. What's this? What's that? What is that? What is that?
Green screen makers. I'm about to tell you secrets. They don't want you to know these secrets. You're welcome in advance. No, actually, don't even say thank you. I'm going to communicate another thing to you. Just have a look. Think about it. Let's talk about green screens. Even lighting, shadows, chroma key, your distance from your green screen. Talk about all of it. When it comes to green screens, many of us have had one and set them up, and sometimes you get good results or plausible results, enough to get going, but maybe there's like a trail of like green on the side of you, like green halo, or sometimes you'll get rumbly weirdness in the corner, like whenever you're moving your chair or something. When you see the difference between a green screen done right and a green screen that has room for improvement, you're going to want to do it right. You may have watched green screen guides before, but I guarantee you this one's worth it. It's not clickbait. Right, so what we're going to cover is even lighting, reducing shadows, and chroma key. Those are the 3 things that are going to set you on the right track to getting this looking tasty. I'm going to go through all that in a bit, but first, let's get the green screen set up, okay? Just wait right there. Okay, so my green screen setup. You thought that was going to be a montage? You thought it was going to be a montage? Yeah, don't really need a montage when you've got an Elgato green screen MT. Thank you very much, Elgato, for sponsoring this video and sending me that green screen. You saved me the hassle of having to put up my green bed sheet, which I've now actually wrapped around my chair. So Elgato, whenever you're doing bed sheets, they're not going to do bed sheets. So I've got an IKEA bed sheet. It's called Dvala, D-V-A-L-A, and it's a fitted sheet. Cost me like £5 or something like that. I used to use this as my green screen a few years back, and it worked okay because I had even lighting and I had an appropriate amount of distance between myself and my green screen. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is even lighting. Even lighting helps with the chroma key process, and it's not difficult to do. Even if you have even lighting set up without a green screen, it still looks pretty good and it can light your face pretty nicely as well. For my lighting in front of me, I am rocking a pair of Elgato key lights. The reason I really like these key lights is whenever I used to use softbox lights, I actually had these umbrella lights, and I would have to get up and adjust the strength and the temperature behind them, come back down, sit in front of the camera, and see if I had done something to improve it. Whereas now I can sit here, change something either on my phone through the app, the Control Center app. I can use Stream Deck to set up buttons to adjust the lighting. I can set up presets on my Stream Deck to do that. I can adjust the Control Center lighting settings on my desktop as well. Now, this isn't the only way you can control your lights remotely. You can get sets that have remote controls and even some that have smart app access, and that's great, but the integration of Elgato into everything else Elgato that I already run, it just kind of makes it a lot more appealing
That
to me.
thing who's
Quality of
there
life
is
thing,
really
it's
complicated.
worth like, I would just rather sit right here. I don't want to get up. You get up. Setting your lights up position-wise is super integral to getting that even lighting set just right as well. You can't have the lights too narrow in front of you because you want to spread the light as far across the green screen canvas as possible. There's actually a really good video that Elgato put out, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a key light setup video. It goes through just a lot of the different ways you can set up these key lights, and you can see the power of one key light or two or having three, and what they can do for you and how to use them to do things like edge lighting, what a key light is, what a fill light is. It's a pretty useful video. I'll leave it in the description. Go learn the thing. Oh no, wait, stay, because you're learning this thing, then go learn the other thing. Just come back. So usually what a lot of content creators do is they have a two-light setup, just like what I have here. A light to the left, a light to the right, and the camera in front. If you're doing a green screen setup, that makes the most sense. So this diagram here, you can use it as a good basis as to where to put your lights initially, and then just see how that fares for you. In my setup, I don't have the lights perfectly symmetrical, but the results I'm getting are pretty good, as you saw in the intro. So I'm just adjusting some of my lights here, just to see. So you can see over here, this kind of darkness, and I want to pull that out a wee bit. And you can see as I brighten this up, it does start to pull it out. I turn that off. What a difference that makes. Like, all of that seems to be like evenly lit now. I can do it over here as well. Really, I mean, I look like I'm about to be taken up by a UFO, and I don't want that look so much. I'm okay with that, like, that's alright. I'm gonna mess with it a wee bit more. Okay, that feels fine. I'm okay with that. I can mess with it more as time goes on. It's really just about getting a nice basis, and then once you start doing the chroma key, you can see how much you can get away with. So one of the other things I do is I actually add a bit of edge lighting.
You guys are ready?
Here you can see on my hand there.
Why are you coughing?
Cool light coming in. You can see this here comes down. And what it actually does is you won't see it on this once we pee this out,
It does.
but it casts this kind of line
Like
down
the
my
powder
side.
from
You can
inside the
position
pill.
this a
When
wee
it
bit
goes in my
behind
throat,
you
it itches
over
my
this kind of
throat.
direction.
That was
It
last
works pretty
night.
well, but what I did was I
It
didn't
did
put
it
it
ever
in.
since.
Okay,
until
then
I
we're
had
not
my
gonna
lighting
take it.
set up evenly, and then I could add in a couple of extra things just to make it a wee bit nicer. It's a totally optional addition, but if you have an extra light or you want to get an extra light, the one that I'm using up here, I've done a video on it when I was talking about getting great lighting by diffusing an LED panel with greaseproof paper. It's a slow down. Okay. But in that video, I show a really nice LED panel that I'm using now, and I still use it, and it costs next to nothing. Not the best, but it is affordable, so check that out. Alright, the next section is review of how shadows are cast based on the distance between the lights, you, and the green screen. When you see shadows on a green screen, chroma key can usually handle them. Like these gradients up here and down here, like they won't be a problem. Kind of problem behind you. Whenever the key's seeing this, it's then having to try and key that. You can see just all these shadows, so it becomes difficult. So you can see in that perfectly done example how, as I got closer to the green screen, I was creating shadows left, right, and center. You don't want that, so where possible, creating distance between yourself and the green screen is really important. Now the distance between you and your lights is also important, but as long as they're hitting that green screen and keeping it evenly lit and keeping those shadows reduced, to nothing, you're going to be okay. You're not going to get interference in your green screen when you chroma key it, which is what you want. So further away from your green screen is usually going to be better. Stick it about, 2 to 3 miles that way. Computer about 7 miles that way. Easy. The last point, which is chroma keying, can be a slam dunk if you get your lighting perfectly even. You'll see behind me it's not perfect, as I've said, but just applying the chroma key, you can start to see how much extra you have to apply or take away, depending on how it looks. So if we go into here and we're just going to apply the chroma key on the webcam itself, I've already got it set up here. You can see the defaults usually are 400 on similarity. So if I turn on the chroma key and turn up similarity, as time goes on, you're going to see the key disappear behind me. Now I'll just bump that up to 400. Now it's pretty much taken it all away. You kind of still see my chair a little bit, and there's this kind of like green hill beside me. So what the smoothness does is it will smooth in the edges. You can see there, even just doing that a little bit, it starts to smooth things in. So that's what smoothness does. What the key color spill reduction does, it actually reduces the green around the outside of you. So if I put this full strength, it's taken all the color out of this entirely. I put it back to default and put it up to about 120. It kind of reduces the green a little bit. So with your webcam in its own webcam scene, which I do recommend doing, and then using that scene, I'm going to explain why in a minute. Once you've got the chroma key on that, you're pretty happy with how that looks to an extent, because like it's still not perfect. Like, if I look here and I look over here to like the left and right of me, I can see, a bit of difference there. I can even see like behind me, and I can see some greens and stuff. And I can keep tweaking on this itself, but there is a tip I got from a great streamer called Carve 'em Up. I suggest you go check him out on twitch.tv/Carve 'em Up. The link is in the description. He told me that he uses a solid green color behind him. So he will chroma key the camera in its own webcam scene, and then he adds in a solid green source afterwards, which you can just do by right-clicking, going to color source, and typing in 00FF00 in the hex code. Then what he does on that is he adds a chroma key to the webcam scene, and this is what I've done. And these are my settings. Usually it's 480, 100 as default. I put mine up to 430. Everyone's is going to be slightly different. You just got to tweak until you find it. You got to look at it. You got to look at your clothes. You got to look at your hair and just see what things you don't want, like green halos around your hair. You don't want your clothes having this kind of movement on them where the chroma key is too strong. You don't want to have like shadows cast in behind you. If I go that far back, you can't really see any shadows coming because the lights are lighting it so well, and I have a good distance between me and my green screen. So that's a cool wee tip. And then if we just go over here, you can see I am perfectly green screened, and the lighting's looking pretty damn good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I can mess with the lighting a wee bit if I want to, bring this down a little bit, bring it all down a wee bit. And look, like I've reduced the brightness so much, but because the green screen is still evenly lit, it's still chroma keying without any issues. I'm liking that. Pretty good. Say you want to add a shadow onto the back of your webcam, so you're more propelled from the screen. It creates a kind of depth between you and what's behind you. You can do that pretty easily. I've got a tutorial on how to do drop shadow stuff. Be sure to check that out. That's also in the description. And it's pretty easy to set that stuff up. And you can see, like, that's a pretty nice effect there. I don't really see that many people using this kind of stuff, apart from twitch.tv/Carve 'em Up.
I can't turn it off.